The alarm blared for the third time that morning. Zara groaned and reached out from under her thin blanket to silence it. The small apartment was quiet except for the soft breathing of her younger brother and sister, who shared the room next door. It was barely 5 a.m., but Zara knew she couldn't afford to be late today. Not for this job. She slipped out of bed, careful not to make the old springs creak. The wooden floor felt cold under her feet as she tiptoed to the bathroom. The mirror showed dark circles under her eyes, evidence of last night's late study session after her evening shift at the diner. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, splashing cold water on her face. Just one more job. Just one more day. At 23, Zara Johnson wasn't supposed to be this tired. She should be enjoying college life, going to parties, making memories with friends. Instead, she juggled 3 jobs while studying engineering at the community college. Her mother had passed away 2 years ago, leaving Zara to care for her 12-year-old brother Theo and 14-year-old sister Nia. Their father had disappeared. Long before that, the temp agency had called, yesterday with an unexpected opportunity, serving at a high-end business conference at the Grand Plaza Hotel downtown. The pay was twice her usual rate, enough to cover this month's overdue electric bill and maybe even start saving for Nia's school trip. Zara dressed carefully in the black pants and white shirt the agency had specified. She pulled her curly hair back into a neat bun, applied a touch of mascara to her tired eyes, and put on her mother's simple gold earrings for luck. "Nia," she called softly, pushing open her sibling's bedroom door. "I'm heading out early today. Remember to walk Theo to school before you go, okay? Breakfast is in the fridge." Her sister mumbled something in her sleep and turned over. Zara smiled sadly. Nia was taking on responsibilities no 14-year-old should have to bear, but they were making it work. They had to. The bus ride downtown took 45 minutes. Zara used the time to review her engineering notes on her cracked phone screen. Her midterm was next week, and she was determined to maintain her scholarship. The bus windows fogged with the breath of early morning commuters, housekeepers, security guards, and other invisible workers who kept the city running while others slept. The Grand Plaza Hotel towered over the surrounding buildings, all gleaming glass and polished marble. Zara felt out of place the moment she stepped into the lobby, with its crystal chandeliers and plush carpets. She straightened her shoulders and headed toward the staff entrance at the back. "Johnson, you're with the temp agency?" A harried-looking event coordinator checked her name off a list. "Perfect timing. We're short-staffed today. Follow me for your briefing." The conference was for tech investors and entrepreneurs, people who made more money in a day than Zara's family saw in a year. Her job was simple: serve coffee, water, and refreshments without being noticed. Stay invisible but available. Don't speak unless spoken to. "These people are deciding the future of technology today," the coordinator explained to the small group of servers. "They don't want to be disturbed by clinking glasses or chatter." "Understood?" Zara nodded along with the others. She had perfected the art of invisibility long ago. Being seen often meant being judged, and she had learned that lesson early in life. The main conference room was already filling with men and women in expensive suits when Zara took her position by the refreshment table. She poured coffee, offered water, and cleared used cups with quiet efficiency. Nobody looked at her face. Nobody said thank you. She might as well have been a robot. During a short break, Zara noticed unusual activity around one of the side preparation rooms. People were rushing in and out, faces tense with worry. Curious, she drifted closer while wiping down a nearby table. "What do you mean she's sick?" "Mr. Chen presents in 15 minutes. A man with a tablet was pacing outside the door. We need someone to organize his presentation materials and manage the slides while he speaks. His entire team is across town dealing with the server crash." Zara shouldn't have been listening, but years of having to be aware of everything around her had made eavesdropping second nature. She continued cleaning, moving slightly closer. "I don't know what to tell you," another staff member replied. "His assistant is throwing up in the bathroom. Food poisoning, probably. Unless you can pull someone from the tech team, they're all assigned to other presenters. This is a disaster. Mr. Chen is presenting to the biggest investors in the room. If this goes poorly, we can kiss the funding round goodbye." Zara glanced toward the commotion and saw papers scattered across a small table. Someone had obviously been organizing them in a hurry before abandoning the task. Without thinking, she stepped over and began neatly arranging them, her eyes quickly scanning the content. They were presentation notes about something called quantum mesh networking. Thanks to her engineering classes, some of the terminology actually made sense to her. "What are you doing?" The man with the tablet had noticed her and was watching with suspicious eyes. "I'm sorry," Zara said, immediately stepping back. "I just thought they seemed disorganized." He looked at her, then at the now neatly arranged papers, then back at her. "You understand any of that technical jargon?" "Some of it," Zara admitted. "I'm studying electrical engineering. The quantum processing concept is similar to what we covered last semester." The man's expression changed to one of desperate calculation. "Have you ever run a PowerPoint presentation before?" "Yes, sir. I do presentations for my study group all the time." He checked his watch. "Look, we're desperate here. Can you handle advancing slides for Mr. Chen's presentation? Just follow his cues and stay out of the way. It's just clicking forward when he signals." Zara's heart raced. This wasn't what she had signed up for. If she messed up, she'd probably lose this job and the temp agency might not call her again. But if she succeeded, "I can do it," she said with more confidence than she felt. "Great, come with me now. I'll introduce you to Mr. Chen. He's about to do a final review of his presentation." The man led Zara down a hallway to a small private meeting room. He knocked once before opening the door. "Mr. Chen, we have a solution for the presentation support." "This is Zara," she supplied softly. "Zara will be managing your slides and materials." James Chen looked up from his laptop. He wasn't what Zara had expected. Younger than she'd imagined, maybe in his late 30s, with casual clothes instead of a suit and intelligent eyes behind simple glasses. There was a quiet intensity about him that made Zara nervous. "What happened to Lisa?" Chen asked. "Food poisoning. Zara here works with the event staff and has technical knowledge. She's studying engineering." Chen's eyes narrowed slightly as he studied Zara. "Engineering student? Which field?" "Electrical with focus on computer systems, sir," she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. Something in his expression softened. "Good. At least you won't be completely lost with the content." He gestured to the chair beside him. "Sit. We have 10 minutes to review the flow of the presentation." The next 10 minutes were the most intense of Zara's life. Chen rapidly walked her through his 40-slide presentation, explaining transition points and when he would need particular reference materials handed to him. Zara took mental notes, focusing with the same intensity she brought to her most difficult classes. "Any questions?" Chen asked when they finished. "Just one," Zara said, surprising herself with her courage. "On slide 23, the financial projection seems to use last quarter's chip production costs. But didn't those drop by about 15% after the new factory in Taiwan came online?" Chen stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to his laptop, pulled up the slide, and examined the numbers. "How did you catch that?" he asked quietly. Zara swallowed hard. "My economics professor used your company as a case study last month. I remembered the production cost change because it was a significant factor in the market analysis we did." A smile slowly spread across Chen's face. "Well, Zara, the engineering student, you just saved me from looking like I don't know my own company's numbers." He quickly updated the slide. "Let's hope this is a sign of good things to come for this presentation." 5 minutes later, they walked into the main conference hall together. The room was now packed with investors and industry leaders. Zara felt completely out of place as she took her position at the small desk next to the presentation screen. Her hands trembled slightly as she prepared the computer. "Don't worry," Chen said quietly, noticing her nervousness. "Just breathe and focus on one slide at a time. We've got this." As the lights dimmed and Chen was introduced to enthusiastic applause, Zara took a deep breath. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined her day would turn out like this. She was supposed to be invisible, serving coffee and clearing dishes. Instead, she was about to assist one of the most powerful tech billionaires in the world. The spotlight hit James Chen as he took center stage, confident and commanding. Zara's finger hovered over the keyboard, ready to advance to the first slide. Whatever happened next, she knew this was a moment that would stay with her forever. What she didn't know was just how much this unexpected opportunity was about to change her life. The spotlight felt hotter than Zara had expected. From her position beside the presentation screen, she could see hundreds of eyes fixed on James Chen as he began to speak. The room was filled with people whose net worth could probably buy the entire neighborhood where she lived. Today, I'm going to show you the future, Chen began, his voice confident and clear. Not just what technology will look like tomorrow, but how it will reshape our understanding of what's possible. Zara clicked to advance to the first slide, her hand steadier than she'd expected. The massive screen behind Chen filled with a stunning visualization of interconnected nodes, the quantum mesh network his company was developing. The audience murmured appreciatively. As Chen moved through his presentation, Zara found herself caught up in the vision he was describing. The technology wasn't just impressive. It could potentially bring high-speed internet to remote communities at a fraction of current costs. Communities like the one where her cousin lived, where a decent internet connection was still a luxury few could afford. The processing power of our new quantum chips allows for unprecedented data compression, Chen explained. Nodding slightly toward Zara, she immediately advanced to the next slide, a complex graph showing performance metrics. She handed Chen the laser pointer he'd requested, their fingers briefly touching in the exchange. His hands were surprisingly calloused for a billionaire, she noticed. Not soft like she'd expected. 20 minutes into the presentation, Chen reached the financial projections, including the slide with the error Zara had caught. As he confidently presented the corrected figures, he glanced her way with a small nod of thanks. The audience seemed impressed, with several investors leaning forward in their seats. Then came the moment Zara had been dreading, the question and answer session. Chen had warned her that these investors were notorious for their tough questions, and she wouldn't have any prepared materials to help him. An older man in the third row raised his hand first. Your quantum approach sounds promising, but haven't you run into the same cooling issues that plagued quantum dynamics when they tried something similar last year? Their prototype overheated after just 48 hours of operation. Chen paused for just a fraction of a second, long enough for Zara to notice his hesitation. She remembered something from the notes she'd organized earlier, about a new cooling system their engineers had developed. Without thinking, she scribbled a quick note and slid it discreetly toward Chen. He glanced down, reading her hasty writing. Your team solved this with the layered graphene cooling system that reduces heat by 60% compared to conventional methods. Chen's eyes widened slightly before he smoothly incorporated the information into his answer. An excellent question. Unlike quantum dynamics, we've actually developed a proprietary layered graphene cooling system that reduces heat generation by 60% compared to conventional methods. This allows our processors to run continuously for weeks without performance degradation. The investor nodded, clearly impressed. Chen fielded the next few questions with ease. But then a sharp-dressed woman near the front asked about market adoption timelines and potential regulatory hurdles, a topic Zara hadn't seen covered in his notes. Chen started to answer with general statements, but Zara could tell from the investor's expression that she wasn't satisfied. During her economics class project on Chen's company, Zara had actually researched this specific issue. Taking another risk, she wrote another note and passed it to him. Chen read it quickly and seamlessly incorporated the information. To address your concern more specifically, we've already begun the FCC approval process with preliminary results expected next quarter. Our pilot program with 3 rural communities has shown 97% adoption rates within the first month, which significantly exceeds industry projections. The woman looked genuinely surprised and made a note on her tablet. As the Q&A continued, Zara found herself writing more notes, little bits of information she remembered from her research or had gleaned from organizing his materials. Each time, Chen smoothly worked her insights into his answers, strengthening his presentation. When the session finally ended, the room erupted in applause. Several investors immediately approached Chen, business cards in hand. Zara stepped back, trying to make herself invisible again, ready to return to her regular serving duties. Her heart was still racing from the adrenaline of the experience. As she turned to leave, she felt a hand on her shoulder. Where do you think you're going? Chen asked, a curious expression on his face. Back to my regular job, sir. Zara replied, suddenly aware of how out of place she was in this crowd of powerful people. Not yet, Chen said. These people want to talk business, and apparently I need you to keep me from looking foolish. There was a hint of humor in his voice that surprised her. For the next hour, Zara stood quietly beside Chen as he networked with potential investors. She noticed how differently these people looked at her now. Not as invisible service staff, but as someone who belonged in Chen's circle. It was an odd feeling. After the last investor left, Chen turned to her. "We need to talk. Follow me." He led her to a quiet corner of the now emptying conference hall. A hotel staff member approached, likely to remind them the room needed to be cleared, took one look at Chen, and quickly turned in another direction. "You saved my presentation back there," Chen said without preamble. "Those notes you passed me, they were exactly what I needed." Zara shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. "I just remembered some things from a class project and from the materials I saw earlier. It wasn't much. It was enough to impress people who don't impress easily," Chen replied. "You mentioned you're studying electrical engineering. Where?" "Community college," Zara answered, feeling a flush of embarrassment. "I'm on a partial scholarship. I work to cover the rest and support my younger brother and sister." Chen's expression changed, becoming more thoughtful. 3 jobs and engineering classes? That's impressive time management. Zara shrugged. "You do what you have to do." "How far along are you in your program?" "2nd year. I'm hoping to transfer to the state university next year if I can figure out the finances." Chen was quiet for a moment, studying her in a way that made Zara nervous. "Why electrical engineering?" The question surprised her. No one had asked her that before. Not her professors, not her friends, not even her family. Everyone just assumed she chose it because the field paid well. "I like solving problems," she said simply. "Making connections between things that don't seem connected at first. Taking complex systems and making them work better." She hesitated, then added, "Plus, I grew up in a neighborhood where the power would go out all the time. I used to imagine I could fix that someday." Chen nodded as if her answer confirmed something for him. "The notes you gave me about the rural adoption rates, was that from your research?" "Yes," Zara admitted. "My cousin lives in one of those pilot communities. When I heard your company was testing there, I called her to ask about it. She said everyone on her street signed up within days. It was the first affordable high-speed option they'd ever had." Something shifted in Chen's expression. Surprise, then interest. "That wasn't in any of our public reports. Our marketing team doesn't even have those numbers yet." Zara tensed. "I'm sorry if that was confidential." Chen waved away her concern. "It's not that. I'm just impressed you did that level of research for a class project." "I like to be thorough," Zara said simply. Chen checked his watch. A surprisingly modest timepiece for someone of his wealth. "I have another meeting in 10 minutes, but I want to continue this conversation." He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. "My personal email is on the back. Send me your resume today." Zara stared at the card in her hand. "My resume? For what?" "I have an internship program at my company. Based on what I've seen today, you'd be an exceptional candidate." Zara felt a rush of conflicting emotions: excitement, disbelief, suspicion. "Is this because I helped with your presentation?" "Because you don't owe me anything. This isn't charity," Chen said, his tone suddenly businesslike. "Your quick thinking saved me from presenting incorrect data to people who would have noticed and questioned my competence. You showed technical knowledge, research skills, and the ability to perform under pressure. Those are qualities I look for in my team. Zara struggled to find words. An internship at Chen Technologies would be life-changing. The kind of opportunity people in her program fought desperately to get. "I don't even have proper work experience in the field." "You have practical experience managing complex situations with limited resources. That's often more valuable than theoretical knowledge." Chen's phone buzzed. He checked it quickly. "I need to go. Send the resume. We'll talk soon." With that, he was gone, leaving Zara standing alone with his business card clutched in her hand. She made her way back to the staff area in a daze, barely noticing the curious looks from the other servers. The event coordinator approached her with a frown. "Where have you been? We needed help clearing the East Conference Room 20 minutes ago." "I'm sorry," Zara said. "Mr. Chen asked me to assist with his presentation and then—" "James Chen? The keynote speaker?" The coordinator's expression changed instantly. "Why didn't you say so? How did it go? Did he seem pleased with the event?" "I think so," Zara said, still processing everything that had happened. He seemed satisfied with the outcome. As she changed out of her server uniform later that day, Zara kept looking at Chen's business card. Part of her wondered if this was some kind of elaborate joke or misunderstanding. People like her didn't get personal invitations from billionaires. Things like that didn't happen in real life. But as she boarded the bus home, clutching the card like a talisman, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, the future she'd been working so hard for was closer than she thought. The ancient computer in Zara's apartment hummed loudly as she stared at the blank email draft on the screen. She'd written and deleted her message to James Chen at least 5 times already. The business card he'd given her sat next to the keyboard, its edges already slightly worn from how often she'd handled it over the past 24 hours. "Just send it already," Naya said, leaning against the doorframe of their tiny shared living room. At 14, Zara's sister had a wisdom beyond her years. "You've been staring at that screen for an hour." "It's not that simple," Zara replied, running a hand through her curls. "This isn't just any job application. This is Chen Technologies. Do you know how many people would kill for this opportunity? So why are you hesitating?" Nia asked, crossing the room to look over her sister's shoulder at the screen. "Is it because you think it's charity?" Sometimes Zara hated how well her sister knew her. "Maybe I don't want a pity internship. I want to earn my place. Didn't you say you saved his presentation? Sounds like you already earned something." Nia picked up the business card, examining it. "Plus, this email is his personal one. He wrote it on the back himself. That means something." Zara took the card back. "When did you get so smart about business etiquette?" "I watch things," Naya said with a shrug. "And I know when my sister is sabotaging herself because she's scared." The words hit home. Zara was scared not of failing, but of hoping. Hope was dangerous. It made disappointments hurt more. After their mother died, Zara had learned to focus on what was necessary, what was practical. Dreams were a luxury they couldn't afford, but Chen had seemed genuine. And what if, just what if, this was real? With a deep breath, Zara began typing again. This time she kept it simple. "Mr. Chen, thank you for the opportunity to assist with your presentation yesterday. As requested, I've attached my resume. While my formal experience in the tech industry is limited, I believe my practical problem-solving skills and education make me a strong candidate for your internship program. I appreciate your consideration and look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Zara Johnson." She attached her resume, a single page that looked painfully sparse to her eyes, and clicked send before she could change her mind again. "There," she said to Nia. "Done. Now we go back to real life and forget this ever happened." But forgetting proved impossible. Throughout her shift at the diner that evening, Zara kept checking her phone, despite knowing that billionaire CEOs probably didn't respond to emails from random assistants within hours. By the time she got home, exhaustion had replaced her earlier anxiety. She fell asleep with her textbook still open beside her. The ping of an incoming email woke her at 6:17 a.m. Groggily, she reached for her phone, expecting it to be a notification from the college or perhaps the temp agency with another job offer. Instead, she saw a new message from James Chen. Zara sat up so quickly she almost fell out of bed. With a shaking finger, she opened the email. "Zara, your resume confirms what I observed yesterday. You're bright, hardworking, and resourceful. I'd like to discuss the internship position in person. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 2 p.m.? My assistant will send details shortly." Zara read the message 3 times to make sure she wasn't dreaming. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She squealed with excitement loud enough to wake Theo in the next room. "What's happening?" her sleepy brother called out. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," Zara called back, her voice giddy with disbelief. Everything might actually be right for once. The next 24 hours passed in a blur. Zara called her professors to reschedule a study session, picked up an extra morning shift at the coffee shop to make up for the afternoon hours she'd miss, and spent nearly an hour that night trying to decide what to wear. She finally settled on her one interview outfit: black pants, a blue button-up shirt, and a second-hand blazer she'd found at a thrift store last year. The Chen Technologies headquarters was located downtown, in a sleek glass building that seemed to touch the clouds. As Zara approached, her reflection in the mirrored exterior showed a young woman trying very hard to look confident. Inside, the lobby was filled with light, plants, and people moving purposefully in every direction. A large screen on one wall displayed news headlines alongside the company's stock price. "I'm here to see Mr. Chen," Zara told the receptionist, trying to keep her voice steady. My name is Zara Johnson. The woman checked her computer and smiled. Yes, Ms. Johnson, you're expected. Take the express elevator to the 37th floor. Mr. Chen's assistant will meet you there. The elevator moved so smoothly and quickly that Zara's ears popped. When the doors opened, she stepped into a reception area with panoramic views of the city. A woman with a sleek ponytail approached her immediately. Ms. Johnson, I'm Vivian, Mr. Chen's chief of staff. He's wrapping up a call. Can I get you anything while you wait? Water? Coffee? Water would be nice, thank you, Zara said, following Vivian to a seating area with low, modern furniture. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Zara could see her entire neighborhood in the distance, looking small and far away. It was strange to think that just yesterday she'd been serving coffee to business people, and now she was sitting in one of the most prestigious tech companies in the country. 5 minutes later, James Chen emerged from his office. He looked different in this environment, more formal in a tailored shirt and dark jeans, but still without the suit and tie Zara would have expected from someone of his position. Zara, he said with a smile, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. Let's talk in my office. Chen's workspace was surprisingly modest. A glass desk, a few chairs, and walls covered with whiteboards filled with diagrams and notes. No fancy artwork or trophies, just tools for thinking and creating. Please sit, he said, gesturing to a chair. I've been looking at your academic record. Your professors speak highly of you. Zara blinked in surprise. You contacted my professors? I like to be thorough, Chen replied, echoing her own words from their previous conversation. Professor Highland was particularly impressed with your circuit design project. He said you found an elegant solution that even he hadn't considered. Warmth spread through Zara's chest at the praise. Professor Highland was notoriously hard to impress. About this internship, Chen continued, leaning forward slightly. It would be with our community infrastructure team. They're working on implementing the rural internet project you mentioned, making our technology accessible to underserved areas. Based on your background and insights, I think you'd bring a valuable perspective. I'm very interested, Zara said carefully, but I need to understand the details. Hours, duration, expectations. She hesitated, then added, and compensation. Chen nodded approvingly. Direct. Good. The position is 20 hours per week, flexible scheduling to accommodate your classes. Initial term is 6 months with potential for extension. As for compensation, he named a figure that made Zara's eyes widen. It was more than she made from all 3 of her current jobs combined. That's generous, she managed to say, trying to maintain her composure. It's market rate for someone with your skills, Chen corrected. We don't underpay our people regardless of their background or how they came to us. Zara sat quietly for a moment, processing. The opportunity was everything she could have hoped for, but something still felt off. Mr. Chen, she said finally. Why me? Really? I'm sure you meet dozens of bright students and potential interns. What made you offer this to someone who was serving coffee at your presentation? Chen considered her question seriously. Have you heard of perspective blindness? Zara shook her head. It's what happens when everyone in a room comes from the same background, has the same training, reads the same books. They develop blind spots. Chen stood and walked to one of his whiteboards. The quantum mesh network you saw in my presentation? We'd been struggling with adoption rates in the test communities. Our engineers couldn't figure out why people weren't signing up as quickly as our models predicted. He drew a quick diagram on the board. The problem wasn't the technology. It was the sign-up process. We designed it for people with high-speed internet and the latest smartphones. In communities where many people are accessing the internet from libraries or have older devices, our process was essentially inaccessible. Chen turned back to Zara. It took someone from outside our bubble to point this out, someone who understood both the technology and the community. He capped the marker. Diversity isn't charity, Zara. It's a competitive advantage. I want you on this team because you'll see things the rest of us miss. His words settled over her, easing the doubt that had been gnawing at her since his initial offer. This wasn't pity. This was business. When can you start? Chen asked. I'd need to give notice at my other jobs, Zara said, and talk to my professors about my schedule. Maybe next week? Perfect. Chen extended his hand again. Welcome to Chen Technologies, Zara. As they shook hands, Zara felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a job. It was a door opening to a future she'd only glimpsed through the window before. One more thing, Chen added as he walked her back to the elevator. The compensation package includes health insurance, family coverage. Would that be useful for you and your siblings? Zara thought of Naya's glasses prescription they couldn't afford to fill, and Theo's asthma medication they rationed carefully each month. Yes, she said quietly. That would be very useful. On the bus ride home, Zara watched the city pass by in a blur. Her life had changed completely in just 48 hours. There would be challenges ahead, adjusting her schedule, navigating a new workplace, balancing her responsibilities at home with this opportunity. But for the first time in years, the future looked not just survivable but bright. She couldn't wait to tell Nia and Theo. Tonight they would celebrate. Tomorrow, she would begin building their new life. Zara's first day at Chen Technologies arrived with a mix of excitement and terror. She had spent the weekend telling her now former bosses she was leaving, explaining to her siblings how their lives would change, and trying to convince herself that this wasn't all an elaborate dream she would soon wake up from. The security guard at the front desk greeted her with a smile and handed her an employee badge with her photo already on it. Ms. Johnson, welcome to the team. The system is expecting you. The weight of the badge in her hand made everything suddenly real. She clipped it to her blazer and headed for the elevator, catching her reflection in its polished doors. The young woman looking back at her seemed different somehow, standing taller perhaps. Vivian, Chen's chief of staff, met her on the 31st floor. Your team is this way, she said, leading Zara through an open office space. We've assigned you to the Rural Access Project. Your supervisor is Dr. Lin, but she's at a conference this week. For now, you'll be working with the development team to get oriented. They stopped at a desk near a bank of windows. It had a brand new laptop, a large monitor, and a small plant in a blue ceramic pot. This is yours, Vivian said. The team usually gathers at 9:30 for their morning check-in. That's in about 20 minutes. Can I get you anything before I go? No, thank you, Zara said, still taking in the fact that she had her own desk at Chen Technologies. I'm fine. As Vivian walked away, Zara set down her worn backpack and slowly lowered herself into the ergonomic chair. It adjusted automatically to her weight, making her smile. Everything here was so new, so high-tech compared to what she was used to. She booted up the laptop and found a welcome email with links to training modules and company information. She had just started reading when a voice interrupted her. You must be the new intern. A tall man with glasses stood beside her desk, coffee mug in hand. I'm Raj, lead developer for the mesh network implementation. Zara, she replied, standing to shake his hand. Nice to meet you. So you're the one who impressed the big boss, Raj said with a friendly smile. That doesn't happen often. Chen rarely involves himself in intern selection. Before Zara could respond, more people began gathering in a nearby meeting area. Raj gestured for her to follow. That's our team. Come on, I'll introduce you. The Rural Access Project team consisted of 8 people, 3 software developers, 2 hardware specialists, a user experience designer, a project manager, and now Zara. They sat in a circle of chairs, and Zara quickly realized this wasn't the formal business environment she had expected. People wore casual clothes, spoke frankly, and seemed genuinely passionate about their work. Everyone, this is Zara, our new intern, Raj announced. She'll be with us while Dr. Lin is at the conference. A chorus of hellos greeted her along with curious glances. A woman with short purple hair spoke up. You're the one who helped Chen at the investor presentation, right? I heard you saved him from a major factual error. Zara felt her cheeks warm. It wasn't that dramatic. I just noticed a small discrepancy in the data. Well, whatever you did, it worked, said an older man with salt and pepper beard. We got the funding approved. I'm Dev, by the way, hardware team. The meeting progressed, with team members updating each other on various aspects of the project. Zara listened carefully, trying to absorb the technical language and project specifics. When her turn came, she simply introduced herself and mentioned her electrical engineering background. Great, said the project manager, a no-nonsense woman named Yuki. Zara, for this week, I want you to shadow different team members each day to understand the project from all angles. Today, start with Raj on the software side. Tomorrow, you'll work with Dev on hardware integration. As the team dispersed, Zara followed Raj to his workspace. Don't look so nervous, he said kindly. Everyone here was new once. It's not just being new, Zara admitted. I've never been in an environment like this before. Raj's expression softened with understanding. Different from community college. Different from anywhere I've been, she said. I'm used to being the only one who looks like me in my classes. And I'm definitely not used to having my own desk with a view of the city. Chen Tech is better than most places about diversity, Raj said, pulling up a chair for her. Not perfect, but better. And that view? You earned it. Now let me show you what we're working on. For the next few hours, Raj walked her through the software architecture of the quantum mesh network. Zara surprised herself by keeping up with his explanations, even asking questions that made him pause and reconsider certain approaches. You know, he said after one particularly insightful question, for an intern, you have a good grasp of network optimization. I had to set up a homemade network for our apartment building, Zara explained. The landlord wouldn't pay for proper wiring, so a few of us pooled our equipment and figured out how to share bandwidth. You learn a lot when you have to make things work with limited resources. Raj looked impressed. That's exactly the kind of practical experience we need. Our biggest challenge has been adapting our high-end technology to work in areas with outdated infrastructure. By lunchtime, Zara's head was swimming with new information. Raj invited her to join the team in the company cafeteria, a sleek space with stations offering everything from sushi to brick oven pizza. Zara stared at the options, momentarily overwhelmed. It's all included, Yuki said, appearing beside her. Employee benefit. Eat whatever you want. Zara selected a sandwich and salad, then joined the team at their table. The conversation flowed around her. Technical discussions mixed with personal anecdotes and occasional jokes. It was nothing like the break rooms at her previous jobs, where everyone was too tired or rushed to do more than gulp down their food before returning to work. So, Zara, Dev asked between bites, what made you choose electrical engineering? The question reminded her of Chen asking something similar. I grew up in a neighborhood with unreliable infrastructure, she said. Power outages, internet that came and went. I wanted to understand how those systems worked so I could fix them. Dev nodded appreciatively. Best reason to become an engineer. Solving real problems. After lunch, Zara continued shadowing Raj, this time focusing on the user interface for the rural deployment. As she reviewed the current design, something caught her attention. This registration process requires an email verification, she pointed out. What about users who only have email access at public libraries or schools? Raj looked surprised. That's a good point. We assumed everyone would have continuous email access. And here, Zara continued, pointing to another screen, the tutorial uses a lot of technical terms. From my experience helping my neighbors with technology, these instructions might be confusing for people who aren't tech-savvy. What would you suggest instead? Raj asked, seeming genuinely interested. Maybe add an option for phone verification and simplify the language here and here. She highlighted several sections. Maybe add visual guides with less text. Raj made notes as she spoke. These are excellent observations. Would you be willing to draft some alternative language for these sections? With your background, you might be the best person to translate our tech speak into something more accessible. Sure, Zara said, feeling a small surge of confidence. I'd be happy to. The rest of the day passed quickly as Zara worked on revising the user instructions. When 5:30 came, she was surprised to see people starting to pack up. We generally keep reasonable hours here, Raj explained, noticing her confusion. Chen believes in work-life balance. Says burned-out engineers make bad decisions. Oh, Zara said, saving her work. At my other jobs, leaving on time was frowned upon. Not here, Raj assured her. Though some of us stay late occasionally when we're in the middle of something exciting. He glanced at her screen. How are those revisions coming? I've finished a draft, Zara said. Would you like to see it before I leave? Raj reviewed her work, nodding as he read. This is exactly what we needed. You've made the instructions clearer without talking down to the users. Well done. His praise warmed her. It was the first time in a long while that someone had valued her work for something other than speed or quantity. On the bus ride home, Zara reflected on her day. There had been moments of insecurity and uncertainty, but overall she felt valued. Like her perspective mattered. Like she belonged. The feeling didn't last long. When she arrived at her apartment building, she found a notice taped to the front door. The rent was increasing by 15% next month, a hike they couldn't afford even with her new salary. Inside, she found Nia helping Theo with his homework at their small kitchen table. Their faces lit up when they saw her. "How was it?" Nia asked eagerly. "Did you get to do any cool tech stuff?" "It was good," Zara said, forcing a smile and hiding the rent notice in her bag. She wouldn't worry them with this problem tonight. "Really good, actually. I think I might have helped make their product better." "That's awesome," Theo exclaimed. "Did you meet any robots?" Zara laughed, some of her tension easing. "No robots yet, but I did have lunch in a cafeteria with free food. I brought you guys some cookies." She pulled out the wrapped treats she'd saved from lunch. As her siblings eagerly unwrapped the cookies, Zara's mind raced through options for their housing situation. They could look for a cheaper place, but moving costs money they didn't have. She could ask for more hours at the internship, but that would cut into her study time. The rent increase was a harsh reminder that one good opportunity couldn't instantly solve years of financial instability. Real life was still waiting outside Chen Technologies' gleaming doors. That night, after Nia and Theo were asleep, Zara sat at their small kitchen table with a notepad, calculating numbers. The internship would cover their basic needs, but just barely. Any unexpected expense could still derail them. One day at a time, she whispered to herself, echoing her mother's favorite saying, "Solve the problems you can solve today." Tomorrow she would return to Chen Technologies and continue learning. She would keep proving her value. And somehow she would figure out the rest as she went along. She had faced worse challenges before. As she finally headed to bed, exhausted but determined, Zara realized something important. For the first time in years, her problems felt solvable. Not easy, but possible to overcome. And that feeling, that cautious hope, was worth more than any view from the 31st floor. 3 years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. Zara stood at the window of her new office on the 35th floor of Chen Technologies, watching the city prepare for evening. The sun cast long shadows between buildings, and traffic was beginning to thicken as people headed home. Her reflection in the glass showed a different woman than the one who had first walked into this building. Confident now, with a posture that no longer apologized for taking up space. A knock at her door pulled her attention away from the view. "The final numbers are in for the Community Access Program," Raj said, entering with a tablet in hand. Now the technical director of the Rural Access Division, he still had the same friendly smile but more gray in his beard. 97% adoption rate across all pilot communities. "The board is thrilled." Zara took the tablet, scanning the data with practiced ease. "What about the elderly users? We were concerned about the sign-up process being accessible enough." "That's the best part," Raj replied. "Their adoption rate is 92%, almost as high as the general population. Your simplified interface design made all the difference." Pride warmed Zara's chest. The project had been her baby for the past year, an expansion of the quantum mesh network to bring affordable internet to 50 more rural communities across the country. She had led the implementation team, drawing on everything she'd learned during her internship and subsequent years with the company. "Chen wants to see you," Raj added. "His office, 15 minutes. Zara nodded, handing back the tablet. "Did he say what it's about?" "No, but he looked pleased. And you know how rare that is." After Raj left, Zara straightened the items on her desk. A framed photo of Nia in her college graduation cap, a model of the mesh network node they'd designed, and the small plant from her first day, now thriving in a larger pot. She still kept things neat and organized, a habit from years of sharing tight spaces with her siblings. The path from intern to infrastructure development manager hadn't been easy. There had been late nights studying for her final engineering exams while working full-time. There had been the constant need to prove herself in rooms full of people who had every advantage she hadn't. There had been the apartment crisis, solved only when Chen Technologies started a housing assistance program for employees, a program Zara later discovered had been created partly because of her situation. Through it all, Zara had persisted, graduated with honors, and steadily climbed within the company. Each promotion had brought new responsibilities and challenges, but also greater security for her family. Nia was now in her second year at the state university, studying computer science. Theo was thriving in high school, already talking about engineering programs for college. 15 minutes later, Zara knocked on James Chen's office door. "Come in," he called. The office looked much the same as it had 3 years ago, still focused on function rather than showing off wealth or power. Chen himself had changed little as well, though his public profile had grown as the company expanded its community impact programs. Zara, he greeted her with a nod. Take a seat. I've just been reviewing the rural access expansion results. They exceeded our projections, Zara said, sitting across from him, especially among demographics we were concerned about reaching. Indeed, Chen set down his tablet. Which brings me to why I called you here. The board has approved the next phase of our community initiatives. We're establishing a new division focused entirely on developing technology solutions for underserved populations. Not just internet access, but education, healthcare, financial services. A complete ecosystem. Zara leaned forward, intrigued. That sounds ambitious. It is, and we need someone to lead it. Chen's gaze was steady. I'm offering you the position. Director of Community Innovation. Zara blinked, momentarily speechless. Director-level positions were typically held by people with decades of experience, not 26-year-olds just 3 years out of college. I know what you're thinking, Chen said, reading her expression. You're too young, too inexperienced for this level of responsibility. But consider this. Who in our company better understands the intersection of advanced technology and real community needs? Who has consistently shown the ability to translate between these worlds? Zara gathered her thoughts. I appreciate your confidence in me, but this would be a significant step up. Yes, it would, and it comes with everything you'd expect. Increased salary, equity package, larger team. Chen leaned back in his chair. But more importantly, it comes with the chance to scale what you've been doing, to impact not just 50 communities, but potentially thousands. The opportunity was breathtaking in its scope. Zara thought of all the neighborhoods like the one she'd grown up in, places where talent and potential went untapped, simply because of lack of access to tools and resources. There's one more component, Chen added. The position includes establishing a scholarship and internship program for students from underrepresented communities. You would oversee its development and implementation. Something clicked into place for Zara, a full circle moment. Like what you did for me. Similar, yes, but more structured, more far-reaching. Chen smiled slightly. Think of how different your path might have been if you'd had access to such a program earlier. Zara nodded, thinking of the years she'd spent working multiple jobs just to keep her family afloat, while pursuing her education in stolen moments. I'll need time to think about it, she said finally. This is bigger than I expected, of course. Take the weekend. We'll talk Monday. Chen stood, signaling the end of the meeting. And Zara, for what it's worth, I can think of no one better suited for this role. The weekend gave Zara time to process the offer and discuss it with her siblings. They gathered in her apartment, a comfortable 3-bedroom in a safe neighborhood. Nothing extravagant but worlds away from where they'd started. You have to take it, Nia insisted, helping herself to another slice of pizza. Now 19, she had their mother's confidence and sharp mind. Do you know what you could do with that kind of platform? It's a lot of responsibility, Zara countered. A lot of visibility, too. If I fail, you won't fail, Theo interrupted. At 16, he'd grown tall and thoughtful, with an interest in sustainable architecture. You never do. Everyone fails sometimes, Theo, Zara said gently. Okay, but when you do, you fix it and keep going. That's your thing. He gave her a look that was half admiration, half teenage exasperation. Remember when our landlord raised the rent? You figured it out. When my asthma got worse, you found that specialist. When Nia needed a better computer for her programming classes, you made it happen. Zara smiled at her brother's simplification of those stressful times. Life's not always that straightforward. No, but you are, Nia said. When you see a problem, you solve it. Imagine how many problems you could solve in this new role. On Monday morning, Zara arrived at Chen's office with her decision. I'll accept the position, she told him, but I have some conditions. Chen raised an eyebrow, looking more intrigued than surprised. Go on. First, I want the scholarship program to include family support, not just tuition, but resources for students who are caregivers or have financial responsibilities beyond themselves. Zara thought of how different her college experience might have been with such support. Second, I want to implement a mentorship component that connects scholarship recipients with company leaders from similar backgrounds. Both reasonable, Chen agreed. Anything else? Zara took a deep breath. I want to establish satellite offices in at least 3 underserved communities within the first year, staffed primarily by local talent. Not just for representation, but to ensure we're designing with communities, not just for them. A slow smile spread across Chen's face. You've given this some thought. I have. If we're serious about innovation that serves all communities, we need to be embedded in those communities, understand their specific challenges, work alongside local talent. Chen considered this for a moment, then nodded. It will require additional budget allocation, but I think the board will support it, especially when they see the potential return on investment, both financial and social. He extended his hand. Congratulations, Director Johnson. When would you like to announce the scholarship program? 6 months later, Zara stood on a stage in the Chen Technologies auditorium, facing an audience of employees, community partners, and the first cohort of scholarship recipients, 20 students from backgrounds similar to her own, all with exceptional potential and significant barriers to overcome. 3 years ago, I was serving coffee at a business conference, she began, her voice steady. A series of unexpected events led me from that job to this stage. Some might call it luck, others might call it privilege. I call it what happens when opportunity meets preparation and potential. She looked out at the faces of the scholarship recipients, eager, nervous, determined. But not everyone gets that unexpected moment, that chance encounter that changes everything. That's why we're launching the Future Innovators Scholarship Program, to create intentional pathways rather than leaving success to chance. As she outlined the program's components, Zara caught sight of James Chen standing at the back of the auditorium. He gave her a slight nod of approval. Beside him stood Raj, Dev, and other colleagues who had supported her journey. Each of you, she continued, addressing the scholarship recipients directly, brings unique perspectives and solutions born from your experiences. We're not offering charity. We're making an investment in you and your communities, and in a future where innovation truly serves everyone. After the ceremony, as students and their families mingled with company mentors, Chen approached Zara. Impressive speech, he said, though I notice you left out how you saved my presentation by catching that financial error. Zara smiled. Some details aren't necessary for the larger story. Perhaps. Chen looked around at the energetic crowd. You know, when I first offered you that internship, I thought I was helping you. I didn't realize how much you would end up helping us. Your perspective has fundamentally changed this company's direction. For the better, I hope, Zara said. Undoubtedly. We're more profitable than ever, but more importantly, we're more relevant, more connected to the communities we serve. Chen turned to her with unusual sincerity. Thank you for taking a chance on us. Zara thought about the journey that had brought her here, from serving coffee to leading a division, from struggling to support her siblings to watching them pursue their own dreams, from being an outsider to helping reshape the very definition of who belonged in the tech world. Thank you for seeing me, she replied simply, not just where I was, but where I could go. As she moved through the crowd, connecting students with mentors and answering questions about the program, Zara felt a deep sense of purpose. The path forward wouldn't be easy. Changing entrenched systems never was, but for the first time, she had the platform and resources to make a real difference. One day, one of these students would stand where she was now, and the cycle would continue, each generation opening doors a little wider than the last. That, Zara thought, was how real change happened, not in dramatic moments but in the quiet, persistent work of creating opportunities where none had existed before. The future she'd always imagined was finally within reach, not just for herself, but for countless others who only needed a chance to show what they could do.